The simplest way to add your kick into your fills. And basically this is your cheat for playing things that sound more difficult than they actually are, which is a lot of fun. Maybe you've been in that place where you're wanting to mix your bass drum into your fills, but it just seems like such a complex and not straightforward task to do. You're wanting to make your fills more interesting, but you struggle to do this cleanly. You feel uncreative as a result. You don't feel like a real drummer, which is obviously very frustrating. What if you could simply and predictably mix your kick into your fills and make your fills sound way more interesting and musical and difficult actually than they actually are? What if you could do that by the end of today's YouTube lesson? Well, it is absolutely possible. You absolutely can. Years ago, I was looking for a way to make my fills more interesting when I was kind of an intermediate drummer when I was in college. And I heard something in a song that I liked, and it was this snare tom-tom kick, snare tom-tom kick pattern. And so I started noticing it in a lot of rock songs, but then I started exploring it and realizing, oh, this has a lot of potential. There's a lot we can do with this. And just this simple pattern, orchestrated in different ways, can create all sorts of cool linear sounding fills that mix the kick in a straightforward, predictable way that even a beginner can tackle. Most beginner drummers think you have to play complex, difficult patterns in order to effectively mix the bass drum into your fills. But the truth is, all you need to get started is right, left, right foot. That's what we're doing today. We're breaking it down in 4 steps, expanding your fill creation ability with the right, left, right foot pattern. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can do this. Hey, welcome to The Non-Glamorous Drummer. I help self-taught beginners know what to practice so that you can nail songs and become the drummer other people want in their band, who can jam and improvise and create and have a lot of fun. And today's lesson is definitely going to help you do just that. So we've got 4 steps here, super simple because we just have this one pattern we're digging into. Step number 1, what is the pattern? Okay, so I told you the first pattern that I heard in a rock song that got me going on this as an intermediate drummer was this. That shows up right, left, right, kick. It shows up in a lot of rock songs, and there's a lot you can do with it. So you could string it together like that. A lot of cool just rock and roll context for that. But if you take that down to the bare bones, our step 1 here today is let's just look at what this actually is. Right, left, right foot. And that's it. If you're brand new to this, if you are a total beginner, then mixing your right foot into something your hands do into your singles might be a little weird. But just take it really slow at first. Do this a couple times. Right, left, right foot, right, left, right foot. And just a tip, make sure that you're processing mentally, like in your head, what you're going to play before you physically play it. Think through this. Okay, how's it going to feel to go right, left, right foot, right, left, right, kick. However you want to think of it. Snare, 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 kick, snare, 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 kick. We could count this as 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and starting the hand part on a beat, and then the kick is always landing at the end of that beat on the So that's it. That's what our pattern is. This is what we want to explore and do a lot of cool things with. So step 2 is, well, how can we move this around the kit? What are some different orchestrations that we might actually use? So at a super simple level, we could go and basically that gives us a full measure. And if we don't want to have to end with 2 kicks like that, we could just go. And of course, there's no rule as to which drum we go to when. We could go. And we could finish it right there on the floor tom if we wanted to. Now, something that is worth noting, and this is something we're going to talk about in some more lessons coming up, is if we're using this as a fill is only as good as our ability to transition into and out of it, right? this is just the infamous struggle that a lot of beginner drummers have, getting into and out of fills. And so what we want to go ahead and do here is pay attention to how is this going to feel as a fill coming out of a groove. So what we could practice is going just like that. So in a nutshell, what we're doing is we're keeping eighth note time on the right hand, just a simple money beat. Counting to 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And remember, this right, left, right foot pattern we've got is 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and crash. So if you can feel that difference between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and difference between that and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and again, make sure it makes sense in your head before you physically do it. Boom, 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 boom. If you're having a hard time locking in the kick just yet, no worries, because we're going to talk about that in the next step. But for now, you could just go. To get that feeling good, to get that transition feeling smooth, and then go to. And so on. So at this point, okay, we can see how we can use this sticking and orchestrate it in a couple of ways, mix it in with a groove and use it as a fill. And we could stop here. And I could say, all right, have fun with this. Now just, see how many different ways you can use this, go use it in songs, have fun, bye. But there's a potential problem. Maybe you've noticed, if you're paying attention to your playing, maybe you've noticed that the right foot is not happening when it's supposed to. Maybe it's sloppy. Well, this is our step 3. What we've got to do here in step 3 is break down the trouble spot and talk about how to practice it and how to fix it. Because if you are listening to yourself and if you are paying attention to how this is feeling as you play it, just this, just the bare bones version of this, if you notice that anything isn't quite smooth, see if you can figure out what it is. Because odds are your hands are fine. Odds are your hands can go. Most likely that's fine. Probably the issue is with the right foot. And the issue is probably that the right foot is happening a little too early or a little too late. If it's happening too early, it might sound like this. Do you notice that? Or maybe it's a little late. Maybe it's. Or maybe it's a mix of both. And that's when it's a little harder to tell because sometimes it's early, sometimes it's late. Either way, we know that, all right, we've got to pay attention to the trouble spot here because none of this in this lesson is any good if we can't lock in the right foot. We can't mix the right foot into fills if we can't do it cleanly and precisely. Now, if you're a new drummer, then odds are you've just got to solidify that brain connection with your right foot. And the more you play anything involving the right foot, the more you're going to solidify that brain connection. But it's worth noting that you want to be paying attention to how precise and clean that right foot is. Because if you're not at all aware of how sloppy your right foot is, you're never going to fix it, and it's always going to be sloppy. So this is where recording yourself can really help. Make little voice memos on your phone. Make videos with your phone. Go back and listen, go back and watch, and that can help you notice the things that I was just showing you, like, oh, my foot is always rushing. Or, oh, my foot's always dragging. So let's say you find an issue with that right foot. What you want to do is zero in on that spot. Now, we can't just practice the right foot by itself. I mean, we could, but it would be kind of weird to go You can definitely do that, but I don't think that's the most productive thing for you to do right now. I think the most productive thing is to practice going hand, foot, hand, right foot, right hand. Just like singles between your hand and your foot. Because the core issue going on here is that the bass drum foot is not lining up halfway between the right hand notes like it should. So if you can make sure that it does, bup, boom, bup, so that it's smooth, then you're good. Now remember, you have to know what your problem is in order to fix it. The key to any productive practice session is to be problem solving. And in order to problem solve, you have to know what the problem is. So let's say our right foot is dragging. Let's say we record ourselves, we listen back, we identify that that's what's happening. Okay, see if you can tell yourself to, I'm gonna play the kick drum a little earlier than I think it ought to be. Test out a few different tempos, go really slow. This is where if you have some drum mics, if you have software like GarageBand or Audacity and you can record onto a visible grid on a computer, it can be really cool to see how your playing lines up on that grid. So you can get visual representation of how accurate you are. There's no better way to fine-tune your timing than that. But even without that visual key, you can still do this orally by listening back, record yourself playing. And just ask yourself, does it feel smooth? Does it feel like the bass drum is exactly in the middle of those two right-hand notes? Then do them in succession and go. And just pay attention to precision and smoothness, and then add the left hand back in. This is where I'll actually advise you to practice with no metronome and gradually speed up a little bit. And as soon as you notice, oh, it's out of time again. Okay, stop. What is it that's going on there? What's causing it to be out of time? Make a recording, listen back. See if again you can zero in on the problem. Oh, I'm rushing again. As I'm going faster, my foot's actually wanting to get quick too quickly. Or maybe my foot's dragging as my hands get faster. See if you can tell what that is, because you're going to have new challenges you face with every new tempo you practice at. What we're doing here is teaching your right foot to automatically play in time. We can't teach it to do that unless we can identify where it's not playing in time or how it's not playing in time. And when we can fix that, well, now we're developing this muscle memory that enables us to just automatically play in time so that we can orchestrate this around the kit and not worry about sloppiness. We can just go. Not to mention we can start mixing it up more and going. Because here's a tip, if you can teach your kick drum to lock in between any right hand pair of notes like that, well, you can kind of do anything here. That kind of takes you beyond where we're going today, but just some tips, just some suggestions and some hopefully inspiration for you, just to show you what all is possible with this and how the core thing is just right foot right. If you can do that well, get that solid, there's a lot of possibility here. Okay, so we spent a lot of time on step 3 here because we have to talk about how to solve trouble spots. Troubleshooting is critical because if we're not paying attention to these things, we're not being self-aware in our playing. And if we're not self-aware, if we don't know how we sound and how we feel, that's disastrous, right? Because then we're going to sound like a total amateur and not know it. Or maybe we know that we don't sound very good, but we don't know why. We have to teach ourselves to start identifying what are the problems in our playing, how can we fix them? Record yourself. Listen back all the time. Make it a habit of doing that in your practice sessions. Now, we can actually move on to step 4, which is the fun stuff. Hopefully we've solved our problems, we've got things technically happening, and it's okay if this doesn't happen in 10 minutes. This might be a little bit of a process. You work on this a little bit every day, and after a few weeks, it starts feeling really good. Step 4 is where this gets fun, because there are other variations we can do other than just orchestrating this differently. We can use the same pattern and move it around the kit different ways like we've been doing, but we can also use the same pattern and shift it on the beat in different ways. So we've been starting the right, left, right on the beat with the kick drum falling on the but we could also shift it to where the kick drum falls on the beat. And that means the hands are different because we actually end up with either, this can get really interesting because either we're going kick, left, kick, left, right, in order to stay right hand lead, or we could go kick, right, kick, right, left, right. That would be a variation. So we could go. That's kind of the feel you can get from that. And that's okay, that's fine. That variation is all right, but that's not something I really use every day because I just don't think it's that interesting. Here's another one we could do though. We're building towards something more interesting, something I really like. We could play the kick on the ands instead of the beats. So that would give us like that. So we could go right, left, foot, left, right, left, foot. At this point, left, right, left, foot, left, right, left, foot, left, right, left, foot. It puts us into that left-hand lead stick. Well, it puts us into a left, right, left kind of sticking. It changes the sticking up a little bit, even though the pattern's still the same. Hopefully that makes sense. I definitely don't want to add confusion with these variations. I just want to start showing you what all you can do with this as you get solid with it. So if the kick drum is on the ands, we can go right, left, foot, left, right, left, foot. So again, that's fine. Okay, we can do some stuff with that. That could be interesting. So we could either put the kick on the beats and go kick, left, kick, left, left, or we could put the kick on the ands and go right, kick, left, kick. But here's my favorite. Besides, I think doing the uhs is cool, but my favorite variation here is actually putting the kick on the E. And I'll explain why. So here's what this sounds like. If we put the kick on the E, that means we go right, kick, right kick, right, kick, right, kick, right, right. We're keeping our sticking the same. It's still a right, foot, right, foot sticking, just like we did with the kick on the uhs, except we've just moved it over. So that it's right kick, right, kick. Now where this gets interesting is we can place our accents with our hands in different places to make it feel different. So if we're putting our, let's say back to our first variation, we're placing the kick drum notes on the uhs, then it feels natural to accent the beats and go which feels kind of cool. It's more interesting to go. Depends on the style you're playing. Than going. It all depends on whether or not all the notes need to be loud, but I think it's interesting adding some pulse. And when we put the kick drum on the E, naturally we want to accent the ands. Now what's really cool about accenting the ands is it gives the whole fill kind of this pulse. Anytime, if you want to make a groove interesting, let's say we're playing a tom groove. Totally made up, very quarter note heavy. 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 1. Very quarter note heavy. Well, what if we added some hi-hat splashes on the ands to give it just some lope, some pulse? We could add in a ride bell. There's something magic about adding in an and pulse into something you're doing, even if it's as simple as if it's just those left foot kicks. It adds so much momentum. So what's really cool is when we can actually do that throughout a fill with the way we accent things. So instead of just going, what if we go like that. So again, the pattern is still right kick, right kick, right kick. Like that. So we're actually starting soft. Soft kick, loud left, soft kick. However you want to think of it. Now, where I think this pattern really finds its bombastic strength is when we're going faster, and basically it's like a big slow groove, but a 30-second note fill. So we've been thinking about this in terms of sixteenths, like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Well, what if the tempo of the song is what if it's that context? So that's totally different because now we're playing 30-second notes, which seem really fast, and maybe they are compared to the groove, but the groove is really slow. So we could play. And so when you're doing a song that's like 50 to 70 beats a minute, this kind of fill can work pretty well. Let's say we're building up, we're like ramping up to something. And of course, you can start to mix it up. There's a lot of different stuff that you can do there. But now one other variation that's kind of a fun one to throw at you. What if instead of doing fours, like we could call these fours when we're going right, left, right foot, right, left, right foot. What if instead of fours, we did sixes? So we did. So it just gives us some more hand notes between the kick notes and gives us more ways to create interesting rhythm and melody in what we're playing. So instead of everything being, then it could be. So again, it just gives us more options. A lot of creative options, a lot of things you can do with that when you're not just thinking in fours, but also sixes and also threes. Just a final bonus to throw at you. You could go. There's our fours. 2 sixes followed by a 4, or those were threes. Hand, hand, foot, hand, hand, foot, hand, hand, foot, hand, hand, foot, ba, boom, 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 boom. So when you start mixing all these together of 4s, 6s, and 3s, there's a lot you can do. We're not going to worry about 5s and 7s because those are just weird, but it gives you a lot of cool creative potential here and creative possibilities. So the idea is practice these things until you can get them more clean. You're focusing on your right foot, getting it tight like we spent a lot of time on in step 3. And then you're just seeing, how can I apply this? How can I mix this into grooves that I'm playing and have a lot of fun with it? So take this methodically, go slow as long as you need to go slow. Focus on self-assessing, record yourself, pay attention to what are the weaknesses, what are the problems, how can I get this cleaner? And then have fun using it. Have fun feeling creative and feeling like, hey, I can start making up cool stuff around the kit, mixing the bass drum into my fills so that they sound more bombastic, more explosive, more interesting, more musical, and more difficult while still keeping it very simple and very straightforward. It's all about learning these simple building blocks you can use and then start, throwing out there at will whenever you feel like it's appropriate. So have fun with this. Know that you can do this. Question for you before you go. What is your next question on mixing the kick into fills that you think we should cover next? So what would be the logical next thing to talk about? What's the next thing you need help with at this point after going through this lesson? Let me know in the comments below. But hey, I hope this has been super valuable for you. It's super helpful to you. As always, stay non-glamorous. Know that you can do this. I'll see you on the next lesson.